Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on our second episode ever of Tiger Talk. It's an official show that is run and about John D. Bryant and Boston Tech alumni. At the end of the day, we're all Tigers, regardless how many times they change the name of the school. Today we have Jacquetta Van Zandt, and we have our executive director, Francis Pina, on the show today. We're going to discuss culture shock. For Jacquetta, what year did you graduate John D. Bryant? Because you're an O'Brien grad.
I am. I graduated in class of 98.
So we missed each other by about 2 years. I was 96. Basically, what we're talking about with the culture shock is, what kind of transitions did you experience, maybe from high school to college and really into the working world, or even like in career transitions? What do you think was like the first time you had to kind of experience that and navigate it?
So I had originally applied to go to an HBCU in Virginia, and then my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, so I decided to stay here. And I went to Mount Ida College in Newton, and when I got there, none of the staff or the professors looked like me. But I came from O'Brien, where my principal was black and had a doctorate. Our librarian was black and had an advanced degree. My math teacher had 2 advanced degrees. Our history teacher was an associate professor and still taught at high school. So I was sort of like in this culture of people who looked like me, and so I had, quote, the black experience. And then when I got to college, none of that. So it was different. And I actually knew a little bit more than some of the professors when I got there. I hope I said that.
It's been a while. They might not be there anymore.
I hope not. I hope
tenure
not.
works a little differently.
I'm going to lose out on that alumni award. It's all right.
So what was that? That was a stark thing. What did you find to be the first, kind of the icebreaker? Like what helped? Because you really got to look within yourself. I mean, it's kind of developing a new ability is to navigate that culture shock. I mean, you can't run out the door and not go back. You have to stay there and proceed and progress through it. So
the initial shock wore off like maybe a month or 2 into the first semester. And while it was diverse at O'Brien, I still found that people who went to high schools like me had the same experience. So we sort of like played off each other. There was a lot of ping pong. What issues mattered most. How do you go head first into your college experience and not sort of block yourself into this black experience. And sort of diversify your own thoughts.
Yes, and find I've found for myself, just trying to find those little commonalities is almost like a breadcrumb to kind of build off of and kind of start developing those new relationships and look past what doesn't look like what you're used to, and just kind of go on with it and be like, well, this is what I'm used to, and now you kind of embrace that, keep working with it.
Yeah.
Francis, how about yourself? Whether out of, from transferring from college to so you have 2 degrees.
Yes.
What was the experience like going to graduate school as opposed to what it was like when you were in undergrad?
Yeah, just to give some context, so I graduated 2005, and I had a very similar experience. I mean, not only in the student body being very diverse and representing many different cultures of color, but also the staff also looked that way as well. So when I went to BU, that's why I went for undergrad, that wasn't the same experience. So I did go through a very similar culture shock in thinking about how do I have the overall college experience and not just like the black college experience. Right. But going to my master's program and making that transition, it was a little bit more focused. And I think what helped me, with my master's program, I went to the Harvard Graduate School of Education. I was pursuing education. I wanted to teach high school math. That's what I do now. And for me, the transition into my master's program was a little bit different. Not only because I was more focused and I knew what I wanted to do, but it was also the community there of different people of color. People from Taiwan, Vietnam, Jamaica, Haiti, and also just from the United States and representing themselves as people of color. It was a stronger community. Of like, oh, did they let you into Harvard too? This is crazy. Like they let me in. They're not gonna regret. I got to make sure I stay here. So part of that
whisper.
Yeah, part of that culture shock. To really get to your question, at first, like they let me in. What was that a mistake? Because not many people of like color that I knew, like from Boston, were going to Harvard for a master's. Like what? So part of the initial shock was they let me in. And then it became like, all right, we're here, I'm in here, let me get my education. And I think it was helpful to be plugged into a network of other educators and people who want to work in education who also like look like me, and we just like form tight bonds. So that was helpful.
That's excellent. Do you find that you still kind of find yourself in those situations now? Even I'm almost 40. I'm willing to divulge that, and I still feel like I have culture shock. I still feel like a new kid at school sometimes, even at this age. Have you seen that kind of circle back in time in life, whether you change like schools that you're teaching at or job positions?
You know, I think in politics, it is very white, and there are not a lot of black politicos. But there are. They're not given the same opportunities. So I feel I got lucky. My boss believed in diversity, and she believed.
Just to touch on that, your current boss is the state's treasurer, right?
State Treasurer Deborah Goldberg. And so we do a lot of work with financial literacy. We focus a lot on communities of color. We focus on women. So I got lucky that, you know, I found someone who believed that I could make a difference and I deserved a seat at the table, and that I didn't have to jump through so many hoops to get there. She knew it right away. So I got really, really lucky. But there are people who still look like me who are still administrative assistants, even though they could be chief of staff. So we're working to change and diversify the legislature a little bit.
So in regards to that, when you do community outreach and you are, you know, recruiting people, do you sense a little hesitance? Maybe they're kind of scared of culture shock. Maybe where they're not really exposed to it as much. Maybe they think, oh, you know, nothing really reflects what my experience is. Maybe it's not for me. Have you been able to kind of help people get over that hurdle and maybe acknowledge that?
Well, one of the things I'm tasked with is bringing her internship program to life. So when we first got to the Treasury, it was sort of dead in the water. And we sort of revitalized it. And I went out looking specifically for kids who went to community colleges, kids who went to trade schools, kids who looked like me, kids who didn't look like me, but still were from, you know, the middle class or from a working class. And I was very honest with them. I said, this is not normal. But our job is to make it normal. So when they come in, if someone calls me on your behalf and their father donated to, you know, Ted Kennedy's campaign in 1963, I will not call you back, because a lot of kids of color don't have the same kind of advocacy.
Yes.
So those people go to the bottom of the pile. But I do make sure that I make an effort to reach out to kids who don't normally see someone like me coming. So.
And tell us more about that. How can people get involved in that internship program? Is it on the website?
Yes,
or?
You can go to our website. It's www.mass.gov.
It always starts at mass.gov.
Or you
Post
can
the link on the website, our website to help you out with that.
or I mean, you're welcome to call our office and talk directly to me. We are currently interviewing for our spring semester, and we only have 12 slots for the spring semester, so it gets very competitive. And then in the summertime, we take up to 40 kids, so please feel free.
Absolutely, that's a great opportunity, and you know, that's a focus of the show too. Is again, it was an issue of me trying to reach out to current students, really to kind of get volunteer hours or something to build, maybe fodder for the resume or the college resume, and it was just hard to do. So that's why we have this here, and I'm glad you were able to share that, because I think there's just a lot of students out there that maybe don't even know that there's internships available.
And I don't think they're really aware of what the state treasury does. I think they think, you know, we do the budget, and we don't. We do a lot of different things. You know, we have the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission under us. We have the retirement board. We have PRIM, which invests, you know, your money. And we also, you know, we have financial literacy. We have the Office of Economic Empowerment, which is the first in the country. And we are focused on lots of financial literacy programs, again, for people who may feel disenfranchised, but not just people who feel disenfranchised. So we do a lot of different things, and I encourage people to apply so that they can know that this part of the government actually is very viable to sustaining the Commonwealth.
Francis, in regards to your transition from school into the working world, especially in a school, because it's kind of like a very built-in community, and we have about a minute to talk about this, so I don't want to cut you short. If anything, we'll pick it up on the end of the PSA that we're going to have. But you're kind of walking into a village. What was that like? You probably had a lot of teachers and staff that had been there for a while. And your first day, was it basically your first day at school? Was it as nerve-wracking as being a teenager?
I mean, it definitely is. I mean, I think about it in the current school that I work at. I'm in my 4th year there, so it's like my senior year. So I kind of I got the lay of the land. But in the broader sense, for me, going in, I felt really invigorated, especially for my purpose. There isn't a lot of males of color who are teaching math. So when I go to like PEDs, like it's a lot of women, a lot of them are white. And that's not a problem. Like more women in STEM, go, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's also nice to have like people who look like me also in front of them in the classroom. So for me, it was like, yes. For some of them, I may be the first black teacher that they've ever had. For some of them, I'm one of the many that they've had. So I think about it from that lens and building into that culture, that school culture where I can also project myself into it as well. So I'm not myself. I'm also Francis. I bring a lot of my own experiences into that classroom as well.
There's a responsibility with that too.
We're going to go to a brief PSA. We're going to come back and continue this conversation. We'll be back with you in just a moment. Thank you.
Hey, Hard, what's this?
That's my resignation letter.
You're resigning. Why?
Because you're constantly ignoring me. You're half as active as you used to be, and you get stuff like this. You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit.
I forgot. I'll do better. Please.
Don't quit on me. Okay. But remember, it's not what you say. It's what you do.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you.
Let's go for a walk.
Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
Welcome back to Tiger Talk. My name is Paul Mullins. We have Jacquetta Van Zandt with us and Francis Pina. As we were discussing earlier, Jacquetta, you mentioned financial literacy in regards to the Treasury Office. There's a program for that. I think it would be helpful to I think financial literacy is something that people just try to avoid. And it just doesn't benefit you at all. There's no profit in avoiding financial literacy.
No, that's actually very dangerous.
Yeah.
So yes, we do financial literacy. We have resources at the Treasury Office, and it's under our Office of Economic Empowerment. But financial literacy has become, or should become, a staple when we're talking to high school students as they're getting ready to go to college, because they get so much debt and they don't know how to handle that. But there's also, and I'm just speaking from the communities of color, but we don't talk to our kids the same way about money as our white counterparts do. And that's always because there is a sense of protection that black parents want to give their kids. Like, you have so many other things to worry about walking daily. We don't want to talk to you about money. But credit scores are important.
Yes.
And people don't understand that credit can get you a lot of things: a house, a car, it can get you a job. All of that plays a part. Financial literacy is huge, and it's not only being talked about at the Treasury Office, but the Urban League is talking about it. The NAACP is talking about it. There's groups in Chinatown that are talking about it, and Chinatown right now is going through a huge fight with gentrification, and that's all tied into financial literacy as well. So yes, it's something that we're very proud of, and it's something that I talk about all the time. I want people to be healthy financially, because that gives you health mentally and physically.
Sure.
Debt can bring you down.
Yes, and also, I mean, there's I think a bit of a shock there to the system is when you're spending a little more freely, you don't want to put yourself into the bucket of budgeting. It just doesn't seem like a fun place to be.
No,
but
and there's a difference between being wealthy and being hood rich.
Yeah.
And I think and I think being hood rich is saying, I'm wearing a Calvin Klein jacket, I've got on some Jordans, and I'm driving around in a Honda CRV. But you live in an apartment with your cousin Boudreaux, and none of you all are making more than $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
There's some